to just make you feel like there's no barrier in between you and the art, right? So, and anytime there's the slightest bit of, like, it's such a tenuous balancing act to maintain, and that's why it really needs to be praised when someone managed to pull it off, because it's very difficult, but to intentionally, like, try and ruin that effect. Like, there's not getting it, there's trying for it, and falling short of the mark. That's understandable, right? Okay, they were trying to achieve the sense of immersion, and they fell short. No one can blame you for that, because it's fucking hard. Like, it's one of the most difficult things, and games are such a, unforgiving medium, because they are an interactive medium. So it's hard to maintain that balance, and I don't begrudge anyone for not managing to nail it, as long as it's still a fun experience. But to intentionally, to go out of your way to cripple that for the player.
Really?
To go, no, there is no immersion here. There is no,
can't get in without
like, you're in the game. You and the experience are as one, and you're completely immersed. No, this is a video game. You are holding a controller in your hand, and you need to move the sticks on the controller in order to fucking move the camera in the game. I talked about that before, like, good cameras in games really need to be commended, because wonky cameras are one of the things that immediately ruins immersion if you fuck it up. So good cameras need to be recognized. So to intentionally fuck that up for yourself and go, no, you're not, like, in this fuck off. In this survival situation, you're playing a video game. And if that's not the point, like, Metal Gear Solid 2 did that. But that was the point. It was like a postmodern experience, being like, fuck you, it's not real. Stop taking this seriously. Like, it was trying to do a thing to try and, like, make you broaden your horizons and think critically about art and video games in general and stuff like that. It was doing it on purpose. So it knew what rules it was breaking. That's an expression I really like. You have... Because there's a lot of fucking young artists out there who are like, I don't want to have to learn the rules for how to, like, draw or compose music or whatever. I just want to do... I have my own style. I have my style. And it's like, yeah, but you don't learn the rules so that you can follow them rigidly and not be allowed to deviate from those rules. You follow the rules, you learn what the rules are, so that you know when it is appropriate to break them. And know that the intended effect you're trying to achieve by breaking those rules on purpose. You know when, where, and how to best go, oh, you thought this was this? Huh. No.
Locked from the other side.
And intentionally do something unexpected from that medium in order to, send some kind of message, depending on what your goals are and what the medium of choice is. This just, like, it doesn't understand what the rules are in the first place. It's not intentionally breaking the rules in order to, achieve something of substance. It just doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. And, I feel like I want to say that comes from this being the first game with an actual, for real, third-person camera. Because fucking Resident Evil 4 did not have a third-person camera. it was played from the third-person perspective. So fucking pointless.
Let's see how you.
But it was still a locked camera, still in a fixed perspective over your shoulder, and not in, you know, cinematic angles around the environment or anything like that. But it was still a fixed camera, you had no control over it, you could wiggle it around, but that really didn't accomplish anything in the long run, to be honest. Because they weren't used to it. Japanese developers and Japanese gamers were not used to real third-person cameras. They didn't know how it was supposed to be done. And ironically, that they kind of did something so pure that everyone, even developers who had been making third-person, like traditional Western third-person shooters for fucking decades, started imitating Resident Evil 4. Like, there was a purity to its simplicity. But it was still, you know, not a traditional controllable third-person camera. And neither was RE5, because RE5 was just RE4 again, only shitty. It was still an over-the-shoulder, locked camera that you didn't have any control over like this. This is, to my knowledge, the first Resident Evil game with a real third-person camera. That's like a real, like, conventional action, Western-esque third-person shooter type system, right? I mean, I can't think of anything. Like, there was Operation Raccoon City. That was made by a Western developer. Capcom, like, Capcom internal didn't really have anything to do with that. So they were thrust into this, and I'm sure they were kind of told by management. Like, I'm sure it was a mandate. Like, you gotta do this control scheme, because that's what's done now, sort of thing. You know, you gotta follow in the footsteps of all these properties that are making a ton of money. So you gotta do what they did. Even though you don't know how to do it. They didn't know how to do it. They had no experience with a properly controlled third-person camera. A player-controlled third-person camera. And after fucking decades of making games with uncontrollable cinematic fixed camera angles that they had control over, and were able to go to force you to look at what they wanted you to look at. They could, like, without it feeling jarring, because the cameras never was in your control in the first place. There was never any sense of immersion to rip you away from because of the camera, because it was always fixed. And that was what they were used to. So I'm sure they were like, okay, well, how do we get the player to look at what we want them to look at? And that's hard. It's hard to get your player to look at what the fuck you want them to look at.
Can't a girl get 2 seconds to herself around here?
Like, it's... Oh my god, stop! There's no reason for this! What are you forcing me to look at that I can't just move the camera around? And I'm slow walking the video game. Just why? It's just, it takes you out of it. It's like a sledgehammer to the fucking face. Like, no, stop playing the video game. Stop. You're not, like, having a fucking interactive experience. You're playing a game. There's a controller in your hand, and you don't know what to look at, you fucking baby. You don't know. So give us control so we can force you to look at what we want you to look at. You don't know. Because we're not good enough fucking designers to just
wonder when I'll get to meet this
make the goddamn environment to where it naturally draws your eye to what we want you to look at. Because that's what you do. And again, it's hard. It's hard. I don't begrudge them. I count locks behind me, even though no other door in the entire ship does that. And now I'm spontaneously in control of this.
Up the wrong tree. No time to explain now.
And it's hard, right? I always love the Valve commentary nodes in Valve games, in like Half-Life, where they're like, it's really fucking hard to get players to look up. Like, it's really fucking hard because
I prefer to stay out of the spotlight.
like people aren't natural. People don't look up, right? That's why. Oh god, I can't control. Why? Oh, instant fail. Instant fail states. I love it. Oh, is it not? Okay. Why even care? Why do I even care about fucking avoiding spotlight? Love these shitty stealth sections. Why are there so many different forms of gameplay in this fucking game? You're taking resources away. Okay, I need to finish my thought about the fucking camera thing. And so Valve is always talking about, like, it's so fucking hard getting players to look where we want them to look. So we gotta, like, do shit with our environmental design.
Thanks for keeping them busy, fellas. I'll see you around.
And they talk about how, like, they take the player not knowing where to go and are like, we need to make the level design better. This is a failing on our part. We obviously didn't make this level in an intuitive enough fashion that players just going through it know where to go. We need to improve that until they know what they're doing. Whereas if you're a shitty designer, you're like, oh, they don't know where to go. Rip the camera control away from them and fucking point it at where they need to go and say, that's where you need to go. That's where you need to go. I don't have the fucking faith or confidence in you to actually do it. And I don't have the skill to, like, lead you in a way where you can figure it out for yourself. So I'm just gonna fucking force you to look at where I need you to go. Because fuck you. It's so terrible. How many different versions... So that's why fucking... Because it just rips you out of it so immediately. Like, I can't... Even if this game wasn't shitty, which it is, I would still have so many problems with them taking the camera away, because it just rips you out of it. It would actually be worse if the game was good. Like, if I'm enjoying the game, if this is a fun game to play and I'm having fun playing it, which I'm not, but hypothetically, hypothetically, I would be like, stop doing that. Like, I want to play the game. Like, why aren't you letting me play the game? Just let me play it, but no, I gotta take the controller away from you. Like, you might as well just be fucking grabbing the controller out of my hand every 3 fucking seconds of gameplay that occur. It is so goddamn infuriating. I mean, the game controls poorly enough. It's already enough of a pain in the ass trying to play this garbage. So when it does it even worse, and it just rips it just takes it away from me. It is so jarring and fucking, like, not done well. Like, jarring's the best word for it, right? That it just makes the already shitty experience even fucking worse. Okay. What is this music? This is appropriate music for what is happening on screen right now, right? Okay, how many different kinds of gameplay are in this game? We have the regular third person running around and shooting thing, which already is a departure from the style of the gameplay that the developers are used to in their prior experience of the series. We had 4 swimming sections, and those needed to be completely fucking refined and make the mechanics for that make sense and work, right? there are all these fucking vehicle sections. There's like fucking like 3 vehicle sections in each fucking each campaign. And those need to work. Those need to be good sections that the player can fucking play through. There's like the Jeep and fucking Chris's thing. There's all there's the snowmobile section and the motorcycle section in Jake and Sherry's. There's like all these weird fucking vehicle sections, and those need to work and make sense. There's this forced, awkward, like half-assed stealth system in Jake and Sherry and Ada's campaign. And even like the regular run and gun shooting is designed and paced very differently between all 3 campaigns. And there's like a sniper section in this campaign as it's so many different kinds of gameplay that all needed an equal amount of care and attention on the part of the developers to make the mechanics work and make sense and be functionally playable.
That's not 801. Why won't it work?
Why would you record this?
Sequence with the cocoon's biostructure.
Find another subject.
Let's call her for the next pass. She's a close match. Be careful what you say around her.
I don't want her catching on.
Yes.
Yes. This is it.
She may have left me, but now I have her back.
Okay, Simmons.
Happy birthday.
You're fucking creepy, Simmons.
Now I get it.
Do you? Because it's still kind of stupid. It still doesn't really make sense. Oh shit! Remember how fucking great this moment was? Remember how fucking awesome it was that the villain is like, ah, and then she just gets shot out of fucking nowhere for no fucking reason. Oh, that was the best. Oh, she's gone. Oh no, she isn't. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure she's not fucking dead though. I mean, come on. This is Resident Evil. The C virus still doesn't make any fucking sense, by the way. Like, you want to talk about inconsistent powers and, like, what the virus can do? Again, this turns people into Jim Joes and zombies, and apparently it can turn people into clones of other people for no reason. Whatever. Fucking retarded. So all of these different mechanics, all of these different types of gameplay, that all needed an equal amount of attention and resources from the developer.
It's imperative that you stop them from launching even a single one.
The developer needed to, like, spend time, energy, and money on each type of gameplay to make them all basically functional. Which they are. They're basically functional. They're not good, they're not refined, they're not, like,
for Simmons drove
you know,
to tear down the world they created.
well designed, but they're functional.
Fail. After all, isn't that why you brought me into this? It's a shame. If you had only sought vengeance against Simmons alone, I would have helped you.
Yeah, I don't see why her plan is to destroy the world. That seems dumb and weird, and there's no reason for that. I mean, Simmons also wants to destroy the world, right? If you hate Simmons so much, why would you do what he wants to have happen? That's weird. But whatever.
Get over yourself. Help me?
This is good. I like this. Get over yourself.
I'm really the one. I
No.
from anyone.
My plans aren't failing. They're thriving!
Okay, what's your motivation? I want to get vengeance against Simmons. Blow up the world and turn everyone into zombies. Okay, I guess I'm seeing the logic there.
Society will collapse!
You're like laughing, maniacally evil villain. And I guess you're fucking Alexia Ashford now, I suppose?
After that, you know what will be left?
Mwahahaha. Let me twirl my mustache.
Nothing!
So
Will rise and take
look at this sympathetic villain, you guys. Look at this sympathetic character. Hooray! Like, I find her so interesting. What an interesting and compelling villain, you guys. Her motivation is so clear and sound. And I totally, you know, oh, I'm so invested in her. Fuck everyone who likes this game.
To break it to you, but you're nothing but a cheap knockoff. At best.
I do like how Ada was kind of like quiet during that. There is
Rest in peace, Carla.
there is some good characterization. There's characterization in the lack of input, you know? And that kind of stuff's always good. What a character doesn't say. And when a character like stays quiet,
With a powerful dose of the C virus.
it can be just as informative about who they are as a person as what they do decide to say. So that was kind of pretty strong. I did like that. How she's like you can feel the sympathy in her being like, look at what was done to you. Like, you were turned into this monster, and I feel bad for you, right? There is a sympathy there. And that's pretty strong. Especially since you can tell, like, Ada's kind of being like, you know, seeing a little bit of herself mirrored back at her. I'm Ada Wong and I don't need help from anybody, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, small nuggets. The small nuggets that keep me sane. I get it, you're supposed to be Veronica. You're supposed to be fucking Code Veronica. I get it. I get it. Okay, I get it. It's Alexia Ashford, I get it. Shut the fuck up. Like, the design could not be more fucking Alexia Ashford. Derek Dondarrion. Shit. So my point is, of course, none of the gameplay styles in this game are well developed. Of course, none of them have any sort of polish or refinement to them. There's like fucking 7. There's like fucking 7 different kinds of gameplay in this fucking game. How could they have possibly, like, made any of them good? How could they possibly have put any care or attention into making them, you know, excel to any degree? Because they had to split all that time and all those resources on, like, fucking 10 different kinds of gameplay. Fucking 7 different kinds of gameplay. Of course, if you're trying to do, if you're spreading yourself too thin. Like, conceivably they could have learned. Conceivably they could have, you know, they could have gotten their sea legs after a while. But they were not only working on their sea legs, they were working on their fucking, like, plane legs and car. They were trying to learn how to drive a boat, a plane, a car, a fucking motorcycle, a bicycle, and how to walk, all at the same time. They don't, like, of course, they're going to, you know, the final product is going to feel like, you know, unrefined and sort of half-assed, because it was. because they had to split so much attention and money on all this different shit. Whereas you have something that's like a game that has one gameplay mechanic and is just doing that one gameplay mechanic and nothing else. Of course, that game is going to do that one gameplay mechanic so well and better than a game that's trying to do like fucking 50 gameplay mechanics all together and all at once. Like, it's not even a question of doubt at that point. And it's a bummer too, because I kind of don't want to reflect anything negative on the dev team, because I'm sure they did the best they possibly could. I'm sure they wanted to make a game as well as they possibly could. Even though, again, I'm sure there were more than a few moments, fuck this, just give up, whatever, I don't give a shit. I'm sure there are more than a few moments of that. Oh, come on. Force me to use the weapon that I did not have equipped. That had no bullets in it. But, like, I'm sure they did their best. In the same way that the guys who made the original Resident Evil did their best. Which was, to a degree, as much as they cared to do. Okay, I'm gonna go into a little... I have a little bit of a pre-recorded rant for this. So I'll go ahead and let that play now, because it's tangentially related. Okay, I'm recording this while I'm, like, not playing the game, because playing the game makes me have a fucking brain aneurysm. So I don't, like, I want to get all my thoughts out. When I say, like, the original Resident Evil was, like, bad on purpose, I don't mean that they intentionally made the voice actors, like, do shitty line reads and what. I don't mean, like, you know, in that modern hipster way of, oh, let's try and make something so bad it's good and keep winking at the camera. I mean it in, like, that Ed Wood way, where they genuinely did their best, and the end result was just complete garbage. But in the best possible way. Like, when they made the original Resident Evil, they were making, like, a 3D PS1 version of Sweet Home. They didn't want to put a story into the game. They actually actively fought against the idea of putting a story in. And they had no choice, and they were given a shoestring budget to do it with. They were given no budget. They hired actors locally, so, like, their criteria for whether or not their voice actors would get the job was, do they speak English? Yes, boom, you got the job. And the, like, voice directors, the guys who are, like, getting the voice actors to do their lines, didn't understand English. They were Japanese dudes, so they were just like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying, I'm just listening for certain enunciations and emphases on certain words without actually understanding what would sound natural or not. There's this great interview with DC Douglas, who does the voice for Wesker nowadays, or used to, I guess, because Wesker's dead now, where he talked about, like, the reason those lines came out weird in the original Resident Evil was because your voice director doesn't know English, and he's just looking for you to, like, put emphasis on certain words. So you do, like, fucking every single possible permutation of that line as you possibly can, until the guy says, okay, we got what I wanted, and then they edited together those voice clips out of order and out of context. So, like, they took, like, line reads that were, like, 3 days apart and put them right one after another in the fucking game. That's why you get lines in the original Resident Evil that were like, stop! Don't open that door! Because the voice director didn't know any better, and they didn't really particularly care. They did the best with what they had, and what they did with it was something that they didn't want to fucking do in the first place. That's why I say they did like they made it bad on purpose, because when the final product like was completed and they looked at what was on the final disc, they said, yeah, fucking good enough, ship it. You know, they didn't particularly, like, they weren't trying to make something of quality. They did the best that they cared to do, which was not at all, and in the end, they made something really, really special, kind of completely on accident, completely unintentionally. And all that stuff is, like, really, you know, well regarded and famous now. So it's just weird to me to have a Resident Evil game now that's like taking itself so fucking seriously and trying to present like a straight-faced narrative that you're meant to take seriously. It expects you to take it seriously when like the narrative, the story was the least important thing in the world to the guys who made the original game. And you can still see that in Resident Evil 4. The story doesn't matter. They don't care about the story in Resident Evil 4. It's just there to do, like, the real narrative comes in from the level design and the atmosphere and the pacing of the progression from one section to another, and the rise and fall of action and whatnot. They don't give a shit about the story. That's not what you're playing a game to experience. With this game, like, they spend so much fucking money on the narrative, on these cutscenes, on the voice acting, on the fucking on the special effects and action set pieces, and it just feels so shallow and unenjoyable. I can't enjoy this, even in an ironic way. Like, I can laugh at how bad it is, but I'm not, like, I'm not getting any kind of enjoyment out of experiencing how bad it is. I'm just feeling fucking miserable, and I don't want to do it anymore. God fucking damn this game.